Hello. Ooh, just letting people in.
Hi.
Hello there. Welcome, welcome. We are going to have quite a floor-based session tonight. I don't know why, I'm feeling like I need grounding, so I thought maybe you might feel similar. So we're not going to start standing, we're actually going to start sitting. So make yourself comfortable in a seated position with your legs crossed or however you want to for now. We're going to kind of shift our legs around as we move into it. Hope everyone's well. Hello. It's a good thing this class is not in person because someone just texted me who I spent lots of time with on Saturday and said they just tested positive for COVID. Like, oh, well. So, but anyway, so yeah, Alex, we're starting sitting. We're going to have a grounded, mat-focused session today. So we're not going to do any we are going to do upright stuff. We're not going to do any standing stuff. We're going to get really comfy, cozy on the ground. So do make sure if you need to that you've got pillows or any kind of support cushions, particularly if you find sitting. We're not going to be sitting for ages, but if you do find sitting a little bit of a challenge, make sure that you've got a little pillow you can stick underneath your sit bones. Right, so I will scoot onto my mat. So crossing the legs the way that you don't normally cross them. So if you automatically have taken your right leg in front, just shift over and swap to take your non-dominant leg in front. And it might feel quite weird to begin with, so you might need to kind of adjust your buttock flesh, make yourself a little bit more at home around your pelvis. If you can, see if you can bolster the sit bones so that you're in more of an upright position through the crown of your head, rather than feeling like you're in any way like this. So we want to really see if we can place the pelvis upright on the ground and let the spine stack itself on top with the head in line with your hips. So just taking a moment and the hands just softly resting on the knees or in the lap if you feel that's more comfy for the shoulders. You can close your eyes if that feels nice, otherwise just direct your gaze kind of down your nose or to a focal point in front of you. See if you can turn your attention to how your body feels right now in this space on your mat. Congratulate yourself for making it here. And just take 3 slow, conscious breaths. However that breath wants to enter your body, just allow it to come in, so lovely and deep. And just notice where in your body you're feeling that sensation of the breath inflating. And then sigh that breath out through your mouth. And again, in. So maybe you feel like the first breaths are coming a little bit higher up through the collarbones into the throat. See if you can let that release out through the mouth. Just soften the jaw and let everything start to soften down through the torso as well. Last breath here, nice and slow and conscious. And then just settle in on your natural, normal rhythm of your breath. So don't force it to do anything, just notice it while you're breathing. Just allow the breath to try and be a deep, softening, soothing presence, but notice if it feels like it's not. So if you're feeling a bit chesty today or a bit kind of anxious, notice where your breath is going. See if you can gently tend to it. See how the pelvis and spine are feeling. And then I want you gently to release your arms down towards the floor. If you need to adjust your bum flesh while you do that, then do. We're going to float the left arm up towards the ceiling. So allow the shoulder blade to kind of drop into the rib cage. So feel like you're not hooking the shoulder to the ear, but instead just allowing the neck to be lovely and soft and free. And then you're going to reach up and over reaching out of the hip. So feel that left sit bone planted down, and we're just letting the hip and the waist reach out like a rainbow. Breathe into that space. So really trying to send that breath into the side of your body. And breathe out. Let's come back through center. Other side, lifting up, soft shoulder, make the neck nice and long. So if you need to, maybe just roll through the neck. Check you're not bringing any tension through the arms, and then lift up and over through the waist. Planting that right sit bone. See how heavy you can make it, but how light and reaching over you can through the right side of the waist and fingertips. Breathing in. Breathing out. Let's do 2 more either side. So floating that arm, but without carrying the shoulder to the neck, lifting up and over. And on this one, I want you to think about the underside of the waist. See if you can resist that pull of the floor. Feel a sense of energy through your center. So what does that mean? Just maybe even softly drawing in through your lower belly to feel like you're supporting the lower spine. But lean into that stretch as much as feels comfortable. And then floating back up. Other side, lift and reach. So we're kind of going across as far as you can without picking up your sit bone with it. So maybe that's all the way over, maybe it's just sort of a slight diagonal, whatever works best for your spine. Breathing in, breathing out. But one more either side, lifting up through the fingertips, soft shoulder, long neck, reaching up and over. And on this one, I want you just to softly rotate. So bringing that arm down just towards the knee, bringing the chest, your heart center floating forward towards the ground a little bit. So we're not folding all the way, but I just want you to get a little bit of rotation here. Both sit bones still planted. And then bringing that arm back up, reaching back into that side reach. And then back through center, lifting up and over. And then softly rotating. And when you're in this rotation, just taking a little breath, seeing where the breath reaches through the ribs as you breathe in here. Can you feel it stretching through the back, kind of bra strap area? Or do you feel it more trying to rise up through your chest? And then coming back to your side reach. And back through center. Let's just change the cross of your legs to reorientate the pelvis and the hips. Hands onto the knees, little circles, so just warming up through the spine a little bit. Soft mobility. Changing direction after 2 or 3 each way. And then coming back through center. And I want you to bring the soles of your feet together. So again, we're going to try and feel that we're planting our weight on both sit bones evenly. And this time you've got a more even base of the pelvis with the soles of the feet together, so we're not kind of wonky through the hips. Let the shoulders release into the back and try and sort of hold on wherever feels comfortable, but around the shin or the ankle area. And if you want a really big inner thigh stretch, obviously bring the heels closer towards your pelvis, but otherwise leaving them in a comfortable distance away. Take a breath in. Now in this position, your pelvic floor area is sort of a diamond shape, quite widely expanding into the mat. So you can feel that sense, almost of that, imagine your pelvic floor basin is mirroring that diamond shape of your legs. So you've got the attachment of the pubic bone at the front, the tailbone at the back, and the 2 sit bones on either side. So just take a moment to visualize and sort of get a sense of, compared to the mat, where your pelvic floor is kind of situated. And I want you to take a lovely deep breath in and imagine that expanse of the breath mirroring that expanse of that diamond shape, so nice and wide and soft. And as you breathe out, think about lifting through the back passage first. So drawing the energy from the back of the pelvic floor through the sides, so both sit bones, imagine them softly drawing towards each other with their muscle engagement, and then through to the pubic bone. So we're back, sides, forward, and lift up. And then breathe in, release it down. So you will probably find, if you want a bit more sensation here, you can always take a pillow just underneath your pelvis to really have that sense of drawing up and away from the surface underneath you, and then releasing it down towards the surface. Let's do 3 more. On your out breath, drawing up and in, lift So full engagement, we're not tipping the pelvis, we're nice and strong and lengthened through the spine. We're balanced through the pelvis, so all the bones stay still. And then breathe in to release. Last one. Lift up. Now we just to soften a little bit, so maybe like 50%, so not all the way to that full expanse, but see if you can maintain a soft lift. And then we're going to tuck the tailbone underneath you and let your spine create a kind of little crescent moon shape. So the spine, the shoulders are just above the hips, and you've got a lovely scoop kind of activity through your center. So you're drawing in through your belly to create that sense of curve, and then send the tailbone underneath you, and let's just open through the chest. Now your neck has a lot of mobility, but I don't want you to hang back through the neck. Instead, imagine just opening your breastbone up towards the ceiling. And then let's curve the other way, tuck the tailbone underneath you, deep in the belly, keep that pelvic floor sense of lift and engagement. And then other way, opening through the chest. Imagine just gently opening the breastbone forward rather than hanging in the neck. Let's do one more. Curl the tailbone underneath you, nose to pubic bone, and then lengthen nose away from pubic bone. And then come back through center. Oh, lovely. Now from here, take your left leg out to the side. Now, so I want you to sort of make sure you feel really comfy. So you might want a little pillow underneath the knee, or just sort of bending it slightly. We're going to take hold of your right leg, and I want you to just gently cradle it like a little baby. So we're working on the pelvic and hip area a little bit, and I just literally want you to kind of massage the hip joint slightly. So you can literally cradle it like a baby, or you can just sort of manipulate the bone in its socket a bit. So either in little circles, or just side to side, whatever feels right for you. Just noticing how the hip joint feels, how the rest of the body reacts to this movement through the hips, whether you feel like it's a bit stuck, or whether it quite likes this mobility. Just notice. And then release it down. Try and notice if you're even on both sit bones. Allow the body to release down as much as you can. And we're going to just release your left hand onto right foot, float the right hand up and all the way over. So you might want to slide your hand wherever feels comfortable along the leg. Same kind of stretch as before, but it might feel a little bit stronger. Breathing in. And let's come back through center and go the other way. So lengthen that right leg out. Bring the left leg in. Now I've got a slightly dodgy knee on this side, so I can't create as much movement. So work within the range that feels right for you, taking hold of your leg wherever feels comfortable. So for me, that's definitely around the knee, around the ankle and foot rather than the knee for this side. And just little circles. See if you can softly massage the joint. Maybe rocking your baby. And then releasing it down. Right hand, right hand, left knee. Float that left arm up and all the way across. Noticing where you're feeling this. So is it in the waist? Is it in the hip and hamstring on that right side? Where is this reaching your body most? Breathe. And then come back through center. And let's just scoosh our legs round behind us. And I want you to come into a 4-point kneeling position. So I'm going to go this way on my mat for now, but then I'm coming back to face you for a reason which will come true in a minute. So I want you to think about how we organise our spine. So just as you would lying down, think about the back of the head, the shoulder blades, the back of the pelvis. Maybe do a little wiggle of your bum to remind you where it is in space. Maybe draw little circles with your tailbone. Quite nice to mobilise that area, but without allowing this movement to ricochet all around the spine. So see if you can just gently, almost like you're circling a mini hula hoop around your hips, and change direction. If you quite like the feeling, you can hula hoop a little bit bigger. It's a really nice way of just releasing tension through the back, particularly if you have had a day of kind of lifting and carrying lots of small people. Good way of releasing tension through the lower spine. And then come back to a position where head, shoulders, ribcage, pelvis are in line with each other. And let's take a breath in. So imagine breathing into that soft space around the lower belly, the pubic bone. And as you breathe out, find that lift up. So it's the same type of lift as drawing up and in through your pelvic floor, but now you've got that abdominal engagement as well. So you want to feel the sense of the pubic bone towards the breastbone, gently drawing up and lifting, but without moving the pelvis. So keep the bones really still. Take a breath in and relax. Breathing out, lifting up through your center, drawing up and in. You can feel that deep intensity of the pelvic floor as well, just to sort of make it even stronger if you like, and then breathe in, relax. Let's do one more, take a breath in. As you breathe out, lifting up and in through your center, so thinking back passage through to front first, or lifting through the abdominals first, whichever works better for your sense of being able to lift. And then release it down. If you need to, just resting off through the wrists, maybe circle them. And then we're going to come into our cat-cow, but I want you to take your right hand and just place it slightly further up the mat. And we're going to stagger, so the left hand is further back. Just see how that feels through the shoulder joints, and maybe if it ricochets into the pelvis, see if you can feel the pelvis is still square on your mat. You haven't shortened the waist on one side. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, tuck the tailbone underneath you and roll into your cat. Just noticing how it feels through the shoulders. Breathing in, breathing out, send the tailbone away, open through the chest. And let's do 3 more here. So in this arm position, just noticing a little difference in the massage through the rib cage. Last 2. And last 1. Send it away. Come back through center and then just adjust the position of the arms. Taking the right arm slightly back, the left arm slightly forward. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, roll through the pelvis. So imagine drawing the tailbone underneath you and let the spine undulate bone by bone. Notice if you feel one side feels softer or tighter on one arm compared to the other. And lengthening away, opening the throat, the heart, and again. And release. Last one. And release. And now come back to your regular position. Obviously circle your wrists if you need to. And let's do a couple of cat-cows here. Notice how it feels. See if you're more conscious of the connection of your shoulder to the rib, or the arm into the torso. The shoulder on the back of the ribs. The space between the shoulder and the neck. The last one. Now from in this cat position, I want you just to roll back, keeping the tailbone tucked for as long as you can, and then just release forward. Allow the forehead to rest onto the ground. Maybe take the arms around by your side. Breathing into the back of your body. So you can either have the knees quite nice and connected or towards each other, which gives you a lovely sort of restful stone position, or if you need to, have the knees quite wide, more extended, open position. And then when you're ready, rolling up. Now from this 4-point kneeling position, we're coming back into, I want you to extend your left leg out to the side. See if you can do that and maintain that even pelvis as much as possible. So we're trying not to kind of hinge up at the hip. Keep that foot flat on the floor and keep this leg as upright and perpendicular to the floor as possible. So we're not leaning in either direction. Try and feel like your pelvis is as square as you can make it. So we had our arms in funny positions. Now we're going to try with the leg in a slightly outward position. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, coming into your cat. Notice where you feel it. Send the tailbone away. Open the chest. Let's do 2 more. And release. Try and keep the little toe of that left foot flat into the mat or the floor. And then from here, I want you to find that pelvic floor connection. So breathe into the belly, and as you breathe out, drawing in through your center, lifting the lower belly. And I want you just to start to tuck the tailbone underneath you. And now make the fingertips light and begin to roll yourself up. I've just almost chopped my head off, but that's okay. To an upright position. We're going to take the arms out by your side. So check you're not kind of hinging and leaning to one side. So planting that foot down, the arms out, nice and wide. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, we're going to just dip ourselves to the right. Finding the floor with that right hand and lift up and over, or up to the ceiling to begin with this left arm, and then all the way over. And then a little circle. So allow the ribcage to rotate, graze the floor with the fingertips, and then come back up. So really planting this left foot, reach up and over, and down, and lift. Let's do 2 more, reach up and over. So really enjoy that stretch, and lift. The last one. And lift. Now leaving the arm up towards the ceiling, we're going to remember how it felt to find that bottom underside of the waist for our side reach, because we're going to need that strength now to lift us up, 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 back to upright, and then drop that left arm and lift up and over with that right hand. So a lovely reach and stretch through the right side of the waist. Breathing in there, breathing out. And then with control, you're going to lower yourself all the way down once more, this time just to reach up and over. Breathe. On your out breath, strong waist for a strong tummy, lifting back up and all the way over. We've got 1 more of these. And again, so think about that really strong center as you lower with control. Reach, reach, reach. And then lifting up, finishing with that lovely stretch of your waist and hip. And then coming back through center. Bring that left knee in. We're going to send the right leg out. Now it might feel really different on each side, on one side compared to the other. So let's just see, check in with your body how it feels. We're going to roll ourselves down. So lengthening through the back of the neck with control. Roll, roll, roll. Finding the floor with your hands. Notice whether one side feels automatically, oh, this is much more comfortable, or whether you're like, oh, my inner thigh is much more tight on this side, or any variations thereof. So just take a moment to breathe and organize your spine and your pelvis. Soften the shoulders. Breathing in. Breathing out. Let's roll the tailbone underneath you, feeling that right foot nice and heavy through all 5 toes there, tucking the tailbone, lengthening through the back of the neck. Breathe in, breathe out, reach the tailbone away. You won't have much of an extension of the spine in this position, but maybe play around with the mobility of the lower and the mid back. And send the tailbone away. Let's do 1 more. And reach it away. And then from here, coming back to neutral, drawing through the lower belly, fire up a little bit more pelvic floor as you tuck the tailbone underneath you. And this time we're going to rebuild. So we're making the fingertips light, rolling back up, bone by bone. Check that this leg is as perpendicular as it can be. Haven't shifted over too much. Planting that right foot, we're going to float the arms out. Breathing in. Now nice and strong through your center. So imagine lifting up through the pelvic floor, lower belly. Imagine the waist muscles kind of cinching to help support your torso as you lower that arm all the way down, finding the floor, and then reaching over. So lovely long stretch on this side. And then we're going to circle. So allow the ribcage to float forward or to twist softly as you reach up and over, and then twist. Lifting up, reach, twist. Got 2 more. keeping that little toe really heavy so you can find that sense of being grounded, but you're reaching away from that anchor point. Last one. And then you leave the arm up towards the ceiling. Now one side again might feel different to the other, might feel much easier, much harder. Let's take a breath in, and as you breathe out, drawing in through your center, so zip up that connection, lower belly, pelvic floor, and bring yourself upright. And then let's come up and over, reaching all right, and just allow that supporting arm just to drop wherever it feels comfortable on the leg. Breathe. And then floating the arm lower with control, all the way down, find the floor, lengthen, lifting up without kind of jolting, and reach. You've got 2 more, lower with control, and all the way over. Then lift and reach. Last one. All the way over. And then we're coming back, finishing it with that lovely side stretch. Breathe. And now let's just pivot yourself round. Bring the legs back underneath you. We're going to come into a little hip flexor stretch. So I want you to bring your left leg in front of you, lengthen your right leg. First with the toes curled under and kind of shimmy and reach that hip out of its joint. So I want you to, or not out of its joint, I want you to feel that hip joint can uncrease and open here, and then lower that foot or let the foot drape down. Now if this is not good for your knee, then don't go there. I want you to sort of keep the knee in a comfortable position. You can still get that hip stretch without the knee going into the angle that often feels a little bit uncomfortable. So I want you more to think about the hip and how you lengthen out of the lower back. So we don't want to be hinging here. We want to feel lifted and strong through your center. So allow your fingertips or your hands to give you grounding through the front of the body. And I want you to feel that sense of lovely deep breath into that space, the lower belly. And as you breathe out, let's draw up and in. And by activating that space, see how you can open into that stretch in the hip without actually even moving anything, but feel supported through the lumbar spine and open through the hip joint. Checking with the shoulders, the neck, maybe roll the nose from side to side. If this feels comfortable and you quite like leaning into your stretches, maybe roll yourself down, draping forward. Breathe. And then coming back upright. Tuck the toes underneath you, lengthening that back leg. And let's just bring ourselves directly into a plank position for a moment. So we're not dropping the hips, we are dropping, we're not having them lifted like a downward dog, but we're not hanging into the lower back. So really be active through the lower belly, soft shoulders. And then bring that right leg through, shimmy and shake the hip, lengthening out if you need to. Now I can't do that with my right knee. So if you like this with your right knee, just shift that foot slightly towards the left hip. Otherwise, much better to keep it in a parallel position with dodgy knees or vulnerable knees. Find a deep breath into the softness of the lower belly, pubic area, and then as you breathe out, try and see if you can lift into that space to encourage length in the lower back. So we're lengthening away from the tailbone rather than sinking into it. Relaxing the shoulders. And then when you're ready, roll yourself forward, draping the spine forward and down. Breathe. And then I want you just to shift and send your right leg back behind you and lower yourselves down onto the floor. Let's have a bit of a shimmy with the hips again. So rolling the hips from side to side, maybe lengthening the legs out of the waist, as if I'm just pulling your big toes away beyond the back of your mat. Now we're going to do a little staggered arm position again. So take your right arm and stagger it so the hand is in line with the shoulder, and your left arm ever so slightly further up beyond the top of your mat. So kind of the same position you had in your cat, we're now going to try with our cobra. So taking your breath in, as you breathe out, nod the nose forward, lengthen up through the spine. Think about that lift through the lower belly, long, long lower back. Breathe in. Breathe out, slowly lower down. Now from here, you're going to look over to that shorter arm, the lower arm, breathing in. As you breathe out, look out towards those right fingertips and lift up. And then slowly lower it down. Breathing in, see if it feels different to do it the other way. On your out breath, you're going to look over to the left fingertips and lengthen. And then slowly lower it down. And then just allow the arms to be central, so both aligned, maybe slightly above the shoulder blades, shoulder tips. Breathing in, breathing out through the center. Nod the chin, the nose forward, lengthen the chin away from the breastbone. Breathing in here. Think long lower spine. We're trying to lift through the pubic bone or lift away from the lower belly, away from the floor, rather than sinking into the lower back and lower. Let's adjust the hands. So take the left hand lower than the shoulder blade, the right hand slightly higher, taking a breath in. Through the center first. As you breathe out, nodding your nose away, lengthen up, softly lengthening into the arms. So you may not straighten either of them, but you're more likely to straighten the front one. And then slowly lower it back down. Other side, looking to the left as we twist. Really pushing into that left arm if it helps you get a lovely rotation. And then roll it back down. Over to the right, lengthening up. And slowly release it down. Well done. Let's just grab hold of your feet. Maybe just one foot if that feels nice. If you feel adventurous and you feel like you can, take hold of both at the same time. If you want to, you can also add a lovely sense of opening the spine. So whichever you prefer, either one leg, two legs, both with a little extension of the spine. Breathe. Release each foot without pinging too much. And then you're going to just lift yourself up, bring the knees quite wide this time and roll all the way back. So enjoy that lovely opposition of all the extension you've just been doing. So really melt into the tailbone. Breathe into that space. I want you to really let the lower back particularly lengthen into its flexion. So the opposite rounding of the spine. Breathe. And then when you're ready, you're rolling up. And we're going to finish lying on our back so you get a bit more proper grounding, which hopefully can be a sort of extension of being in bed slightly later on. So taking the hands around the back of the thighs, allow the spine to lengthen and lift. So maybe sort of adjust your sit bones, adjust your bum flesh if you need to sit on the sit bones. Try and keep the feet nice and planted as you just tuck the tailbone underneath. So it's that same movement we did earlier on, lifting through the pelvic floor to allow you a little bit of strength deep in the belly. Imagine you're softly laying your spine down bone by bone. And then find the floor, reach for the knees, just draw them into your chest. Let's just gently roll from side to side. So we had a hip flexor stretch earlier on, but it was quite an active one. Sometimes it doesn't feel that relaxing when you're upright. So let's do a lovely grounded one here. So allow your shoulders, just take a moment. You might want a pillow underneath the head. Just take a moment to really drop the weight of your body into the mat. Consciously Allow the shoulders to widen, the rib cage to soften, the base of the pelvis to soften. Keep hold of your left leg and you're going to reach the right leg away along the floor. Flex the heel for a moment just to find the back of the heel, the knee rather, lengthening and opening a little bit more into the mat. And check in with the shoulders, relax, breathe. And then adding a little bit hamstring stretch here. So taking hold around the back of the leg, grow the leg from the sit bone to the heel, flexing into the heel for a moment as if you're standing on the ceiling above you, and circle the ankle. Changing direction. And then bringing that knee back in. Give it a hug. Imagine you're sending the tailbone away, dropping and opening into that right hip. So really trying to find that extension of the hip joint. And then float the right knee in and send the left knee, left foot away, flexing into that foot, lengthening through the back of the heel. I said that last time, so back of the knee joint. Breathe. Shoulders relaxed. And then holding on around the back of the leg, just grow that leg tall. Doesn't have to straighten, just imagine a yawning through the back of the knee joint, flexing into the heel, drawing the toes towards your nose a little bit. Keeping the buttock quite heavy feeling, so we're not lifting that leg and lifting the base of the spine. Let's circle the ankle and change direction. And then bring that leg back in. And then float the left knee, release the right foot down. Just take your hands onto your belly for a moment. The ultimate in grounding position. You can, if you want to, if you've got a sofa nearby, just drape your legs along the sofa instead. It's quite nice to have a sort of lifted position through the legs. I just want you to see if you can inflate all the way down your torso. So if you've got your fingertips towards your pubic bone, imagine what it would feel like to breathe and allow the breath to really open into that whole space. And breathing out. And with every breath here, just allowing the body to melt just that little bit more. So you know, like with a baby, when they're just on the cusp of going to sleep and they're still holding on to their tension, but once they absolutely finally let go, they're much heavier in your arms. I want you to have that same sense of noticing where you might be holding on to any tension, and see if you can just let it go into the floor underneath you. Just allow the shoulders to melt, the neck, the jaw, space underneath the breastbone. Imagine it sort of opening and being slightly heavier, more released with the breath. The sacrum, sort of more level part of the pelvis, imagine that's softening and expanding into the mat. Breathing evenly down the front and the back of the body. And stay here breathing if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, allow there to be a little bit of mobility for the last few moments and minutes of the class. So tuck in the tailbone underneath you and allow your spine to gently wheel off the mat. You can even do that if your legs are on the sofa. So you can still mobilize and lift the pelvis with the legs lifted and rolling down. So we're just doing this for the last few moments. See if you can maybe create a little lozenge shape going up the left side of the spine, down the right side of the spine. Notice how that feels. We're not rocking from side to side, we're just simply tracking. Imagine little train tracks along one side of the spine and the other. And if you do a few in that direction, then go the other way. And then just allow your spine to settle Feet to settle, maybe soles of the feet together, knees apart. Maybe lengthening your legs out, pillow underneath the knees, whichever feels comfortable for you. Giving yourself as much comfort as you can possibly manage.